Hello, good afternoon. So today is 13th of March 2019, and today's webinar is going to be about how to trade price action, like price action trading. So this is how we are going to look at our charts today. We are first going to look at just let me show you the list of what we look at. This is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at like key lines. In this case, we're going to look at how to draw key resistance levels, key trend lines, and things like that. Then we're also going to look at high and lows. We're also going to look at pin bars. We're also going to look at engulfing candles. Then we're also going to look at inside bar. So we'll first start by looking at what is price action trading. What is price action itself? So look at the main. This is what I pulled out from online. Sorry. This is what I pulled out from online, and it says that simply put simply, price action is a technique by which a trader reads the market and then makes a decision based on the actual price movements on the chart. So as opposed to relying on lagging indicators, most indicators are in fact derived from price action chart. So what this simply means is that anytime you say like there's an indicator here which I'm having, this is called zigzag. To add it, you need to go to insert, and then there's indicators, then custom indicator, and the first one should be the last on the list, and that is zigzag. So this indicator, the one we're looking at on the chart at the moment, this is actually created from price action, whatever is happening on the chart. So most indicators is not always mentioned, but they're created from volumes. They're created from this show volume. I hope you can see this bars on the lower side of my screen. These ones, these are the ones that are used to create indicators. Most indicators are created based on what is happening on the volume. So what price action means is we are not reading the indicators, but we are reading what the price itself is doing. Just a second, I get rid of this indicator first of all. So what we're going to look at basically today is how to learn what the price is actually doing. How do you know that the price is going to continue down? How do you know that the price is going to continue up? What are candles? What are the name of some candles which you're seeing on the chart? Like with the first one, the one I mentioned, I said that we will start from how to draw key lines. So basically, key lines are just resistance levels and support levels. How do you draw a key resistance level? Like there are very many resistance. These are resistance. This is a very good resistance here. Then we have a support. This is a support here. So how do you know which is which is the strongest and which is the weak one? The way is simple. A key level must have been used previously as a key level. So that's how you know a resistance level. A key resistance level must have been used previously as a key level. That is, if you are on this side, then you find this a very good resistance, a support, sorry. The same place must have been used previously as a key resistance. Like we have this. Just a second. This is the first case. There's a support, and then there's a support. This is some key level. The next thing you need to see is that the same level must have been broken with a key price, like a big candle. Also have this. There's a resistance which was broken. Price came back to it, and then it got supported. So this is still a very good place to buy from. A key level must have been used previously for an opposite purpose. Like if you want to buy at this point, assuming you are eyeing a possible buy at this point, then ensure the same place you are looking to buy from was the same place somebody was selling from. Like this is just a resistance being broken becomes a support and a good place to buy from. So that's the first one. A good level must have been used previously for an opposite trade. So other than the fact that a good level is used as a resistance, a good level must have been used as a good level before, the same level must have been used for an opposite trade previously. We have this GBP USD. So another thing which I need to mention is that any key level, a key level is a level that emerges from the highest time frame possible. So if you're looking at a chart and then the key level you're seeing is actually on the 15-minute chart, then it's not valid compared to if the same level was on a monthly chart. Let's look at GBP USD here. I'm going to look at it from the monthly point of view. So just a second, let me create an account here instantly, a demo account. GBP USD, we have that created already. GBP USD should be here. We have it loaded. So as I've mentioned, a key level are those levels that appear on the highest time frame possible. If you are having a level that's only significant on the 1 minute chart, then that's not a key level. A key level must have been used previously as a key level. So you have this as a level here. You can see this was since when? This was since 2001. But if you were able to, if your chart, you can see in 1993, then you'll be able to see that the same level was used in 1993 as a key support. So we have the first time price was somewhere here, it goes up, comes back, but gets supported. It continues up, gets back to the same support, but is supported. Then it continues up, gets back to the same level and receives some support, although the price attempted to go below it, but it was supported. Then there is this big break that opens here and then closed below. So you have a level here where you're supposed to be trading from. Before you pick a sell, before you pick any sell from this point, just ensure that previously the same place was being used as a key place for buying. So what that means is this, that before you pick a sell, anytime you want to sell here, ensure that this exact same place you want to sell from was the same place somebody was buying from, somebody was buying from, somebody was buying from, and it's the same place you expect to sell in the future. So you want to sell this correctly, assuming you're looking forward to picking a sell from that point and you didn't sell it, maybe you should wait for price to come back to the same place before you can pick a sell. So this is just one way to get key levels. A key level are the ones that appear on the highest time frame possible. If you look at the monthly chart, then just ensure that this is the key place to sell from. This is just one good example. Just a second, I remove volumes. So you don't want to sell somewhere in between, while when you draw a level at the same place, there's actually no support. There's no past records that the same place was used as for an opposite trade. But you increase this line, just push it up, you'll notice that while the price is here, the same place was being used previously as a support, and then there was some point in the past which is not appearing on this chart in 1993 where the same place was used as a key place. So this is one way. Read your charts like this, ensure that you can locate this. Before you pick a sell from anywhere or buy anywhere, just ensure the same place was being used for an opposite trade. And it has to be very clear as the one we are looking at. If you draw a level here, but you notice that previously the same place was not being used as a key level, then know that that may not be the correct place to trade from. So another thing that you'll notice to identify key levels, you'll notice that from the same key level, there are candles that have protruding tails, like there are very long tails coming from the same place, very long tails from the same place, very long tail from the same place, and then we expect the same thing to be happening here. Then in the future, should price get back to the same place, then we expect candles like this, candles that has tails, they should be having tails, but very small body, and that should signal that this is a possible exhaustion area. We are supposed to look for a sell from this point. We expect something like this to be happening in the future. Like in case the price manages to come back to this level, then we expect to see pin bars from the same levels. And if you're that person who does engulfing candles, then this will be the correct place to look for those engulfing. So this is just one way to get key lines. There's another way where somebody may use like you just get a good support, ensure it has been holding, or you get a key resistance and you ensure that it has been holding. There's another level here. We notice that since this was some point in the past, price was here, then it has taken like 1 year to come back to the same place, the same resistance. Then it takes another 1 year to get back to the same resistance before it goes down. Then there's a break above. So immediately you notice that previously the price was unable to close above the same level, and then somehow it manages to close above it at some point in the future. Then when price gets back to the same place, which is after this retracement, then that's the correct time to look for a trade. So you're not going to struggle to look for a trade here. Anytime you have a level, then price goes above it. Don't begin looking for a trade while the price is above that level. Instead, wait for price to come back down, wait for it along this level, and pick a buy from that point. So as I've mentioned, before you buy here, just ensure that the same place somebody else was selling, there was a sell, there was a sell, and there was a sell. So you're not just picking a buy here just because this was a level, this was a support. You're picking a buy because the same place somebody else was looking for a sell. This is just the case of a resistance being broken becomes a support and a very good place to buy from. So if I'm to draw a zone on this, you'll see, assuming I pick a line and then I place it there, you'll notice that somebody ought to have bought here, sold, somebody ought to have sold. There was a good sell, price proceeded above the same place, it continued up, a retracement, we took a buy which actually drove the price up, then the price came back down, back to the same place. This is, as you can see, a resistance and a sell place. We also have another resistance and a very good sell place. So just look at this chart is simple. You could actually have your chart look like this and still be able to trade successfully. You don't need a lot of indicators on a chart. Like, you don't need things like this. I'm not saying the indicators are bad, but you don't need like your chart to be like this, or maybe crowded, something like this, that you have lines here, you have lines here, you also have some lines at this point. You don't need your charts to be crowded like this to be able to make money. You could have a very clear chart like this, just you have like literally 1, 2 lines and still be able to trade successfully. The key here is to identify key levels. Identify levels that if price gets back to such levels, it tends to do the opposite, like it tends to reverse or continue to a particular direction. Like we have a level here. From this point, there's a resistance, there's a resistance, there's a resistance. Then price goes above it, it comes down back to the same point. Anytime you have a level like this, then price proceeds above it, you expect price to continue to the same direction after that time, after that breakout. So you don't buy immediately, rather you wait for price to get back to the same point before you can be able to pick a buy, expecting it to proceed even higher. So that's one way to draw key levels. These are key horizontal levels. There's also key, we also have key trend lines. So we just want to look at just an example of how to draw key trend lines on any chart. So something else that I've not mentioned here, that anytime you have your key lines like this is the first one, we also have the second one. Just ensure you are trading in line with the trend. Like you can see from this point, this is an uptrend. This is some very good uptrend. if you have something like this on a chart, like you know very well that the trend is heading upwards, wait for key resistance levels to be broken. Like in this case, there's a resistance level which has been broken. Price came back to the same place, it headed up. There was also a key resistance here which was not broken. But you have this, if this was an active trend line, I mean an active uptrend, then wait for only cases where the price is showing you that you're supposed to buy. That is, wait for resistance levels to be broken so that the same levels become support and very good place to buy from. And the opposite is true for selling. If you have a downtrend, something like this, and you know very well this is supposed to be a sell, a sell, a sell, like the price keeps making lower highs, then wait for key support levels like the one here and the one here to be broken so that price can get back to the same levels before you look for a sell. So we are not just going to sell or buy anything blindly. All the trades we're looking at must be in line with the overall trend. If we have a downtrend, then you're supposed to look for sell places. If you have an uptrend, then you're supposed to look for buy places. So let's look at a case where there are trend lines. There's a very good one on silver from the weekly point of view. So on this chart, so another thing, you want to understand you are trading based on the charts alone. Don't look at the charts like this. Don't just come to any chart and then you start looking at a chart this big. You should minimize it. Try zooming out. That's the very first procedure you do. Before you analyze any chart, just ensure that you zoom it out so that you are able to see widely. Like if I have a chart like this, then I'm only able to see up to what happened in 2018. Then assume I zoom out just slightly, I'll be able to see what happened up to 2016. Then if I continue zooming out, then I'll be able to see even what happened in 2014. So the more the data you're seeing, the better. The more likely whatever you're seeing is going to work for you. So in this case, we have silver, and we have this one. There's a very good trend line we are seeing on this chart. So this trend has been holding from some point. This was since 2017. This is since 2017. So how you look at this is this: when the price is going to the lower side, you should focus on higher lows. Like focus on these highs becoming even lower. So the very first one, the one you're seeing here, this is the highest high we can see. The first one. Then you see price continues even lower, and then it gets back to the same place, and this is known as the second one. This is still a resistance, but it is lower than the previous one. So this is like a lower high. Then price proceeds down before it gets back to the same place. There's another higher low, another lower high, sorry. Then price continues down, then comes back to the same place. This is another lower high. Then it continues downwards before it comes back to the same place. This is another lower high. Then price continues even lower before it gets back to the same place. This is another lower high. So what this simply means is that in the future, should price continue down and then it gets back to the same place, then this will be the correct place to sell from. You don't want to sell anywhere in between. Rather, you should wait for price to get back to the same trend line. Let price come back up to this trend line so that you can pick a sell. So there are signs that you need to see to confirm that the price is actually going to reverse from this level, and that can be seen on this set already. From this point, the price went down, it came back to the same place. Then this candle, a candle that has some long tail on the upper side, and then the body closes below. Look at this candle properly. It means something very significant, especially if it happens around a key level. Then it continues down, gets back to the same place, and we see almost the same candle appearing. There's a very long tail on top, but the body is closed below. Then price continues down, gets back to the same place, then we see almost a similar candle. So what this means is anytime the price now gets back to the same place and you see a similar candle, that is a candle that has a long tail but the body is closing below, then that means you're supposed to look for a sell. And that's where the price action aspect comes in. That's where now you begin to learn that anytime the price comes back and you see something like this, then it means the price is actually reversing to the last side. So it continues down, gets back to the same point, and then there's this candle. This is still a sell. It's almost the same candle which we have been looking at on the previous ones. The same candle, the same candle, the same candle, the same candle. We also want to sell when the same candle appears. This is another sell. Then price came back to the same place. This was another sell. And then the same thing happens. This was another sell. Sorry. This was another sell. In the future, should price go down but then comes back to the same place, then this will be the correct place to look for a sell from. Don't sell anywhere, even if you find that there are very good trades in between. So somebody may be wondering, how comes I'm selling here, I'm selling here, I'm also selling at this point. If you took a sell after this candle, you also took a sell after this candle, then probably you are stopped by all this. But that does not mean that you stop trading it. You can still trade it, especially when the price gets, if you are stopped on the first one and the next one, then let it be. Wait for the next time the price gets back to the same place, then you look for a sell. So one thing which I'm going to mention here is that I mentioned something at the beginning, that we are not only going to look at key lines or lower highs or anything like that. Like I mentioned here, that we are going to look at like key lines. So far we've been looking at key lines all this time. We've also tried looking at this one. We've also tried looking at lows. I mean, we've looked at highs. We are going to look at lows. Then we're going to look at pin bars also. And let's get to that. We'll look at lows first before we move to the next one. So the case we're looking at here, these are actually highs. It's like highs becoming lower. Anytime you identify a high, it's actually lower than the previous one. You want to look at a case where there are lows that gets high, like this. Let's look at gold. Is much better, especially on the monthly chart. Gold is here. Look at it from the monthly point of view. So as I mentioned at the beginning, if you just load a chart like this and you want to get a key level, it's almost impossible to get a key level. It will not give you the key, because you put your chart like this, you'll see this as the key level. Somebody will see this as a resistance. Being broken becomes a support and therefore a good place to buy from. But in the actual sense, this may not be a good place to buy from. It's actually in between an active trend, so it may look like a good buy, which in this case is a good buy, but in not all cases will this be a good place to buy from. So the most important in this, reduce your chart, zoom out, ensure you zoom out like that. Then you'll now be able to see up to what happened since 1998. Then you're able to get key levels that have been holding, like for a decade the same level has been holding. You have a support broken, there's a break above, this is like a false break, a back up, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance. And if I'm to pick a zone, then it will be like this. This now the same place, the same resistance, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, and therefore a very good place. So assuming you're looking at the monthly chart, then notice that the same place has been holding for the longest time you can remember. Like it has been holding ever since then that's the correct place to trade from. Don't sell anything unless the price gets to that place. And assuming you're doing pin bars or engulfing candles, then all those candles you choose to trade, all of them, they have to be around this level. Like if this is a pin bar, the body of this pin bar must be touching this level. And if this is an engulfing candle, then that engulfing must also be touching that level. I think this should make some sense, that the candle which you choose to trade, either is pin bar or engulfing candle, it has to be touching the same level. It must be touching this level here. Before you say a pin bar is pin bar, it must be touching. A pin bar is only a pin bar if it happens around a key level or within an active trend. So if this is an active uptrend, then you see a bullish pin bar, all this confirms that the trend is upward. That is an active pin bar. It's a good one. It's in context. But if you see something like this, that there's a sell pin bar while the trend is upwards, that does not make sense for me. There's something like this, like any trend, any pin bar or any candle that contradicts the overall trend is out of context, and therefore it's not a good one to trade. There's also a trend line here, a level here, something like this. So from the past, this was since 2008, the price used this level as a very good support. It went up, came back to the same support, the same level as support. We also have this as a support, and then the same place in the future, a very good support there. We basically want price to get back to the same place so that we can look for a trade to the upper side. So this is what price action entails. There are no indicators. If you can notice, ever since we began this webinar, there are no indicators you are adding on the chart, but we're actually looking at, we are seeing places where you could have traded perfectly. So this is the lowest place you can see on this chart. Is like from where the trend line is drawn, the lowest place, that is like the lowest low. Price goes up, gets back to the same place, and then we see a higher low. Then it continues up, then gets back to the same place. There's another higher low, and we expect that from whatever is happening now, the price should get back up to this level before eventually coming back to that trend line, and this should be another higher low, and therefore a very good place to trade from. So if you want to trade this correctly, you want to trade based on trend lines only, then wait for only cases where the price is touching that trend line. Like you will not trade anything assuming currently the price is here. These are the prices. If the current mass candle can close as a pin bar just the way it is, then this is a sign that the price is heading upwards. But it does not mean that you should come to this place and trigger a buy. That is not the meaning. It does not mean that you're supposed to buy immediately. What it means is that there are chances that we could be heading upwards, but this is not the key place to buy from. The key place to buy from is when the price is touching this trend line. And the thing is, if you are trading pin bar, whether you're trading pin bar, engulfing candle, inside candles, whichever pattern you're seeing, that pattern must be appearing around this level, that trend line. Don't find yourself trading anything when there's no clear sign. Like if the price is going down, then you see this as a pin bar. You find that there's a pin bar currently forming around this level, and that's a good sign that the sellers, people who are selling from this point up to this point, are actually getting exhausted, and we expect buyers to come in. But if you find a pin bar here, then it may be deceiving. Don't buy anything unless the price is at a key level, and don't sell anything unless the price is at a key level. If you have a resistance here, you have a support, a break below, there's a false break, you have the same place being a resistance consistently for a long time, a resistance, the same place was a support at some point in the past. We have a resistance, we also have a resistance, we have a resistance, sorry, we have this resistance, we have this resistance, this resistance. You can see from the past that the price has been using the same place as a resistance, the same resistance, the same place, the same place, the same place, the same place, the same place. What this follows is that should price get back to the same place but fails to cross above it, then that is the correct place to look for a sell. So somebody will go to this chart and then they start analyzing this chart from a 15 minutes point of view. It's not bad to look at a chart from a 15 minutes point of view. It's not bad. It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad. But then it is not as clearer as somebody who's looking at the same chart from a higher time frame. Like if you want to do price action correctly, then just ensure that the same place is a monthly level. Like I'm having my levels here. Just a second. Just a second. Give me a second. So assuming you have a level like this, you have very good lines, a resistance, and then you have a supportive trend line. Then you already have your lines drawn on the monthly chart like this. This is the correct way you've drawn them on the monthly chart. Once you have this drawn like this, only do anything. Think for a sell when the price at level. Even if now you choose to do 15 minutes chart like this, assuming somebody wants to trade 15 minutes, then you should not be doing anything until the price is somewhere around this place. So what that means is, if the price is here right now, you still expect some moves. You expect price to get back to this level before you can look for a sell. This is what you expect to happen. So what this means is, whether you're doing 15 minutes, 30 minutes chart, 1 hour chart, the same place somebody ought to be selling from the monthly is the same place you who is trading 1 hour or whichever time frame should be looking for a sell. So you don't sell because somebody is selling, or you don't buy because somebody is buying. You don't also buy because a level is only significant on the 1 hour chart. But ensure that the same place you're seeing a buy on the monthly, or somebody is trading a monthly is looking for a sell from the same place, is the same place you who is trading 30 minutes actually looking for a trade from. So what that means is you'll basically be seated and waiting for price to get back to this level before you can sell it with those people who are selling the monthly chart. So somebody may be wondering, like, how many trades will I have when I'm looking at something like this? There's not only this one. This is not the only symbol that should be traded. FreshForex has a lot of symbols. There are many. So while this has not matured for a sell, there may be others here. You may be having Gazprom, you may be having all this one. Any of them may have matured. So you can trade any of them. The same thing applies. So you don't want to struggle to sell this one just because you see that it's delaying while there's a very good trade on Motorola. You also don't want to trade this one, EUR USD, just because many people are trading it, even if it has no signal. Like if there's no clear sign for you to trade it, assuming there's no clear sign for you to trade it, then you want to trade just because people are trading. Don't do like that. Wait for a key level. Like in this case, just like look at it from the monthly point of view. Just this one. We have a very good level here, just as a resistance, there's a false break, a support, there's a break above, price came back to the same support, and therefore a good place to buy from. So while the price may be taking time to get back to the place you're supposed to buy from, look for other pairs. Go to these pairs, look for others. Don't restrict yourself to one chart. So this is another good trend line on this one. We have this one, have a level there. So from the past, this was since 2008. It's a resistance. We have a resistance, price goes down, a support, a resistance, sorry. Then it goes down, a resistance, and then continues down. We have that, didn't touch it, a very good one. But should price get back to the same point, then this will be the very good place to sell from. So somebody may be looking for us a buy where the price is now, which is correct based on what you just looked at, but actually the whole thing is heading downwards, and therefore you should sell from this point is better than this buy. So this is one way you understand the charts. This is just one good way you'll be able to see that anytime there's a trade you're seeing, maybe you're seeing this as a good place to buy from, there may be the overall trend on that chart is downward. So instead of buying, or even if you successfully manages to buy it, then you should be able to get out at this point. So there's another thing here that you should learn how to combine trend lines and horizontal levels. Like anytime you find like this a resistance, the same resistance, if you draw a line like this, is actually a horizontal key level, then that's the correct place to trade from. Those are the places you're supposed to look for a trade from. We have a support, we have a support, we have a support, there's a break above, then there's a resistance, and price goes down, it comes back to the same place. We expect to see a sell from the same trend line. So while the price is touching this trend line, at the same time notice that the same place is a horizontal level, then that is the most ideal place to look for a trade from. So ensure your charts are simple. You don't have to have a messy chart. You don't have to have like a chart that has everything, something like this. You don't have to have a chart that has things like this. Let me add this one. So I'm going to add just tons of indicators on this one. You don't have to have a chart like this to be able to trade successfully. You could have a very clear chart and still be able to make good money trading. Start on. These are just a list of things that somebody may add. So what I'm saying here is not that the indicators are bad. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you could have a very clear chart like this and still be able to trade as successful as somebody who has the indicators attached on a chart. So how the indicators work is this: they'll read what the price is doing and then put it in a visual manner so that you're able to see. So whatever we are doing now, actually the indicator will be able to do all that and then display it for you on the screen. So the main reason I don't do indicators is because it's messy. For me, it's messy. I do some indicators which I'm not going to mention here, but I don't find them very useful as somebody is doing price action. So I believe we've looked at just many things we ought to have looked at. We've checked just the core of price action. We looked at just the things that somebody ought to be looking at when they're doing price action, and I believe we learned something so far. If I'm just to do some recap, whatever I've looked at is this: that there's the key level which you're drawing, or whichever trade you choose to take, it has to be in line with the trend, and then the trade which you're trading must be emerging from a key level. Your signals, if you're trading pin bars and graphic candles, inside bars, whichever candle you choose to trade, all of them must be appearing around the key levels. So I've mentioned here that you need to draw your lines correctly. You need to draw your lines very clean, have a very clean chart. Don't have a messy chart like this. This may make sense to someone, but I don't recommend that you should have a chart like this. Have a very clean chart and then restrict yourself with the longest time frame possible. Your key levels must be emerging from the highest time frame possible. If you want to do a key resistance, just ensure that the same level is appearing from the monthly point of view. So that should pretty much bring us to the end of today's webinar. See you again tomorrow at 8:30 GMT. Thank you.